Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Knights of the Alternate Table. This time, what if the UN forces won the Korean War? Last we left off, the US also won the Vietnam War, uniting Indochina. Be sure to like and subscribe, or else. And I'm doing this bit for the whole episode, so hope you guys enjoy it. Here is a map of Europe. Look at it. Nice and communist on the east, and non-communist in the west. The Soviets seem to control a lot of it. Too much of it, in fact. If only something were to happen to them, such as democratic revolts. Let's see what democratic revolts the US would choose. The US would choose Croatia. After now being oppressed, they would incite Croatian nationalism, much as they did in South America, to make an anti-communist regime. They would supply arms and different weapons to Croatia. This would lead to Yugoslavia falling and going into a civil war. Since Yugoslavia wasn't a direct Soviet puppet, the Soviets could not help militarily. The Croatians would begin in modern-day Croatia and Bosnia-Herzegovina. I am sorry for that pronunciation. They would quickly control the north and would start moving south with rapid weapons and pace, as the Yugoslavian government would not expect this. Using American weapons and tanks, this would lead. The Soviets, seeing this, would be concerned and start sending weapons to Yugoslavia. It would appear that the Serbian-dominated Yugoslav government would not work, as the Croatian government would promise fair and equal voting rights to everyone, not just Serbians. This would lead to massive different ethnic groups joining the Croatian side to try and either gain independence or help fight. This would become truly a civil war against Serbia. They would continuously move more and more down Yugoslavia, now entering Serbian territory. This would scare the Serbians, who would beg the Soviets to just declare war on the Croatians or nuke them and take them out. The Soviets, fearing that this would lead the US to have an excuse, would not engage, as even though it was clear the US was supporting them, they weren't going in directly militarily. Now, Serbia, only holding Montenegro territory, would start to look to surrender. Though the Soviets would tell them to fight on, they would send weapons and other stuff soon, hoping to try and weaken the Serbian government to make them dependent on the Soviet Union. Though this would fail, and they would soon become a puppet state to America instead of the Soviets. The Soviets would quickly lose their advantage and would have to send stuff between neutral Romania and Bulgaria. The Soviets, thinking this would cause active war instead of becoming neutral shipping companies, would not engage, and the Serbians would be forced to get crushed and destroyed. The final forces would enter Yugoslavia and finish it off. Albania would soon also fall to democracy and capitalism to prove that was truly the strongest. Now a foothold in the Balkans, they would start looking at other Balkan nations to try and help create a new revolution, a new global revolution of capitalism. A new Yugoslavia would unite under the Croatian banner. The Croatians would now put their symbols in instead of the communist symbols, as well as symbols representing each of the Yugoslav republics. They would be represented equally, though Croatia wouldn't be an open republic in case the communist Serbians took power again. Now, as in the last episode, with the US not fearing and being more confident, would openly support the Bay of Pigs invasion, leading to Cuba falling. So, with the missiles in Turkey that threatened Moscow, there would only be one choice: try and compromise with the US. The US would want a unified Germany, as that would become a powerhouse and would hopefully help create a richer and West Europe and a jealouser East Europe. Next, the US would support the Hungarian revolt, making it an actual civil war instead of just a couple of students protesting. They would quickly take Budapest and most of Western Hungary, as that's where the US aid would come in. The other Hungarians would start getting angry and ask the Soviets for help. They would start by taking the famous Hungarian lakes and waiting there and digging in. The Soviets, not wanting to admit it was a puppet government, would try and hold back its support, though would start moving in when it was forced to go. This would hurt them, and the Hungarian revolt would gain more and more ground. The Hungarians would advance more and more, while the other Hungarians would fall back. The Soviet Union would now put in direct efforts and halt this advance. But with the US armaments, this would lead to a DMZ. Hungary would become the Korea of our world. With this happening, they would try and divide Hungary evenly. The DMZ would cut Hungary in two. And now, with the richer East Germany, they would look more and more trying to divide Europe. And seeing the rich combined Germany, other nations would start looking jealous and wanting to join the West instead of saying communist. The next revolt would be in Bulgaria. This would be an easy coup with no civil war, and the Soviets would now only have the puppets that they directly border with the loss of Bulgaria. Bulgaria would become independent and would immediately join NATO, as the Comintern would not risk war, a nuclear war, under the Mad Doctrine and the disarmament treaties they have signed. The next thing that would happen is, even though Czechoslovakia was communist, the Czechs would declare independence from the Slovakians. This would be done democratically, and with the Czechs not being a puppet state, as they would create their own form of government, and the Slovakians would keep the one the Soviets put in place, they would vote in more democratic parties to lead them. This would be another major loss for the Soviet Union. Fast forward to a couple of years, with the Soviet Union about to collapse, with seeing the rich Germany and the thriving Czech Republic, the Soviet Union would ask for America help keep their union alive by economic and food support. The Americans would agree, under the influence, that they release all nations and turn them democratic instead of communist. With this, the map would look like this. Hungary would stay divided. After 40 years of being separate, the young, liberal Hungarians in the west versus the old boomer Hungarians in the east. And more nations would become democratic, while the Soviet Union would have its own internal problems. Slowly, they would start making the changes. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that bit. Now I'm gonna be more energetic because that was actually hurting my throat. So yeah, there are plans on the way, currently working. Maybe they came out before because I'm trying to get ahead on schedule. I do hope you like my new mic. I wanted to experiment it by doing the little creepy voice and the horror music that's still playing. So I hope you guys do like, and everything's great. So have a good one. Goodbye. Wow, what a great video. On your right is a video YouTube thinks that you should watch, and you better watch it, or else. And on your left, well, that's one of my most recent uploads, so you should also watch that, or something might happen.